Now, some conservatives say that voter suppression doesn't exist, that anybody can get an ID, that this is people just making it up, that it's racist to make the note that people can't get their voter IDs. Now, I don't necessarily care about what people could do. I care about what people actually do. That happens in physical matter reality. This unicorn world doesn't exist of coulds. What happens? What actually takes place? And more still, what is the reason that the voter ID legislation was put up in the first place? Seeing, as I've shown over that study after study after study after study, you can list them. Voter ID or voter fraud, the kind that voter ID is supposed to stop, doesn't exist. At least not in real measure. However, the number of people that it prevents from voting runs in the thousands. Now, this may only be 1 or 2 percentage points, but in really close districts, that's all you need. You only need a few percentage points. Take a look at this. I ran this story for my patron appreciation because one of my patrons wanted me to run it. Well, not wanted me to run. I was looking at the story prior, but it coincided with the story that I wanted to run anyway. North Dakota, Standing Rock. If you remember, there was a fight in Standing Rock for water because they didn't want an oil company to run a pipeline under their territory, their land. Because that pipe could spill, that pipe could leak, and it would go into the water that they use. Not to mention that the pipeline was supposed to go through the city originally, and the people protested or didn't necessarily want that to take place, and so they put it to the Native American population because they care less about the Native American population. Call it what it is. Tell the truth, shame the devil. We've screwed over the Native American population. I say we because I'm an American in this case, but we've screwed them over royally. And this is just one in a long line of crimes. Here's another one, though. Voting. Heidi Heitkamp ran, Heidi Heitkamp ran in the election, beating her Republican opponent by only a few thousand votes. The Republican legislature at that point comes up and says, you know what? We need voter ID laws. We need to enact voter ID laws. Now, against what some of these Republicans would say, that anybody can get a voter ID. In our mindset, any random person can go and get a voter ID. It is racist to say that they can't. This Orwellian language. Fact of the matter is, they couldn't. Many of them lived in areas where they actually had difficulty getting IDs. The remnants of Standing Rock, after they passed this voter ID law, cobbled their forces together. And in face of this law, which they understood and knew was to stop them from voting and stop them from going for the Democratic candidate, whoever they were going to vote for, but in this case, many of them, the majority of them, went for the Democrat, pushing her over, cobbled their forces together, and through peril and pain, put a voter effort. And just to get part of the story, so I'll read it properly. North Dakota counties that voted Democrat in 2012 Senate election, when she heard that the United States Supreme Court had upheld North Dakota voter ID law, the law that required each voter to present identification that displays a residential address, a major barrier for tribal members, since thousands of Native Americans don't use a home address. Defender's home is in the South Dakota side of the Standing Rock, but it's typical of the communities throughout the reservation. The law is widely understood as a result of Republican state Congress members' cynical mathematics. 6 years ago, North Dakota Native Americans helped swing Republican or swing Democrat Heidi Heitkamp narrowly into the United States House in the Senate by less than 3,000 votes. The next year, the Republicans introduced the new law, completely undetached from that. Completely. Tribes fought in court until October 9th when the Supreme Court declined to support their appeal. So they fought hard in order to create a voter drive, in order to try to get people's registrations. Now, fast forward to today. Conservatives say, no way this voter ID law was set to adversely affect populations. Look at this. Breaking. Hearing reports that 48's polling locations in Standing Rock is refusing tribal letter IDs. Heading there now. Ira Berman. This could be a major issue. Tribes in North Dakota printed thousands of new IDs to comply with the new voter ID law, but GOP Secretary of State refused to say if he'd accept them. Because of new law, ID must have a residential street address, but many Native Americans get their mail through P.O. boxes. Let's keep going. There's more. There's more. There's more. Where is it? In one case, they were refusing it based on avenue. Let's see. Georgia. Here's another one. I'm told 3 people trying to vote at the courthouse in 48's in Standing Rock were told no because their ID had an address saying avenue instead of street. Standing Rock officials issued new IDs. And they're talking about the tribal efforts for this. That's amazing. That's amazing. If there was any doubt that that law was to stop a certain demographic from voting, please dispel your beliefs. Please dispel your beliefs. The Native Americans are having a difficult time voting. It is unknown whether or not those votes would even be counted because of the new voter ID law. They did their damnedest to comply with that law, but many of them don't even have street addresses in the proper sense of the word, meaning that the law that was passed essentially disenfranchised that group of people, trying to erase them from the voting, the political space. Stay tuned. I'll keep covering Ira Berman. He's awesome. And by the way, there's more cases of weirdness with regards to voting. Let's flip back to this for a moment. 300,000 registered voters in Alabama. 1 in 10 are inactive. If you are listed as inactive when you go to vote, you can still cast a regular ballot. Know that. In fact, I may do a separate video on that just as a separate thing. Voters in Missouri wrongly being told they need photo ID to vote. You can vote with no photo ID, such as voter registration card. Election monitors have received numerous reports from across Missouri and in the Kansas City area about poll workers wrongly telling voters they need to present a photo ID. Voters in Missouri do not need to present a photo ID. They can present another form of ID, such as a voter registration card. I personally have a voter registration card because my address is a little weird on my other one. If I'm not mistaken, my wife does too. In Virginia, they required voter ID, but they mailed out voter registration cards to everybody in the state. Just saying. I want to see if there's more on this. But I'm going to keep an eye on Ari Berman. This is Nico House sweating his ass off for Tim Canova. Fight that good fight. Ralph Nader. Vote. Remember, if you aren't tuned into politics, politics will turn on you. If you're not turned on to politics, politics will turn on you. I like that. Love that guy. All right, this was just a short, quick one to give a heads up. I will put the link at the bottom. If only Republicans felt about voting the same way they felt about guns. Well, ironically, they do feel a certain way about voting. I mean, part of the reason, the long lines, like some of the lines were 4.5 hours long. That's amazing in a democracy. In a representative government, you can't put resources into your polling stations to make sure you have enough polling stations to accommodate the number of people who are coming to your elections. Even if you only have a few people going to certain polling stations, so what? So what? So what? I will end this here because I don't want this one to go too long. But I will have updates all throughout the day for the elections, and I will be around tonight for the results. Man, I'm gonna joke AJ if he's wrong. I'm gonna joke the shit out of AJ. Alright guys, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the content through Patreon. Thanks all.